Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everyone? Happy Halloween. Totally forgot. It's Halloween. How's everybody doing? My name is Qiana, also known as DJ Q-BOOGIE. I am the founder of Female DJ Association. And today, okay, she's on. So excited to be here. Guest on inside of the membership, inside of the Female DJ membership. But today, we are going live on Instagram. What's up, girl?
Hey.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. I'll say that I'm good.
Excellent. Hey.
We have the phenomenal DJ NIKKI BEATNIK in the building. And she is from England. She's out in London.
Yeah.
Are you in London? I'll be out there next year. I told you that, right?
Nice. No, I didn't. Oh, yeah, you did say that. Yeah.
We have to make sure we get together. So,
sure.
welcome. I'm so glad that we have you here today. It's going to be a quick one. I know you have things to do. I know you're a mom, a DJ, a producer, a creative. You're doing all of the things.
All the things.
All of the
In fact,
things.
I just dropped my kid to trick-or-treating. And then we did swimming lessons. We were in swimming literally an hour ago. And then the clocks, we got the times wrong because the clocks went back in the UK. So the time difference is now different. So I thought it was at 8 o'clock. It's now 7 o'clock here. So yeah, everything's a mess.
I'm here. It's okay. We are here. Things happen and we're good. Right? So I was telling everyone, like, inside of the Female DJ Association membership, we have a monthly guest to talk about their journey. But today we are live on Instagram. We have you live, which is super duper special because you are super duper special. We wanted to talk to you about all the great things that you're doing. But first, just tell us a little bit about yourself. The people that don't know how amazing you are, can you please just brag on yourself a little bit, please?
You know, British people are not very good at this. You know, we're like very sarcastic, we downplay everything. I've worked with a lot of Americans, and when they first sort of got my sense of humor, they were like, why is she always like so negative? But it's our sarcastic way of like being self-deprecating, so it doesn't come naturally to us. But I've been a DJ. I started DJing when I was 15, but when I was playing my first clubs before I was legal to be in nightclubs, basically. But I've been a musician since I was like 3 or 4 years old. I started playing instruments, and I got a music scholarship at 6. Went to music schools, studied classical music. I was playing in orchestras and doing all the choirs and all that kind of stuff. And then when I was probably about 14, I went to house parties and what you would regard probably as block parties, but we had warehouse parties back in the day. So were illegal raves, basically. So they could be anywhere in a field or a warehouse or an old disused building. Someone would jack up a load of speakers, like speaker stacks. And it really came from like sound system culture. And I remember just falling in love with it. And then I snuck into like my first clubs very young. And I remember seeing the DJs and being like, I love this. And really my love for dancing and music and hip hop and house music was my two loves, like hip hop, house and dancehall, really. But I specifically remember looking over at the decks and seeing the DJs and their girlfriends being in the DJ booth, but no women DJing. And I'm talking like it was late 80s, early 90s. So there was hardly any women. And I was like, I want to do that. I'm going to DJ. And people my age kind of laughed at me. And there was a lot of guys I knew that DJ'd and collected records. They were like, you can't DJ. Like, there's no women doing this kind of thing. And, you know, they didn't want to sell me decks. I was trying to get secondhand decks off one of them. They didn't want to sell them to me. They were like, no, I'll sell it to a guy, you know, that kind of attitude. And then no one really taught me to DJ. I just taught myself, and I taught myself to kind of transform and scratch a little bit on a tiny little 2-channel mixer. And I played my first club I started playing house parties about 6 months after that. And then I started playing, I played my first club when I was 16 or 17, 16, I think. And I remember it, and my hand was shaking, like putting the needle on the record. It was so stressful. But the guy had seen me going to this club, and he was like, how come you know all the records, all the words, blah, blah. And I said, because I'm a DJ. And he sort of laughed. And he said, okay, come and warm up for me next week then, if you can DJ. I went, okay. And I came with my record box and all my records. And yeah, that was my first gig. And I've been DJing ever since, for years and years and years. I've traveled the world. I've been to 6 continents. I've been to the North Pole and DJed. I've been to South America, Asia, Australia, all over Europe many, many times. I've probably DJed in about 70 countries now.
Wow.
I was going to Dubai before anyone was going to Dubai, like around the year 2000, 2001, the first time I went out there, and I was doing Formula One parties, which now are a big thing. And I just was like, oh yeah, I guess these guys are racing cars, let's play a party kind of thing. I was playing in Ibiza, like I went to Ibiza for the first time in 98, and I got a residency there in 2003 with Ministry of Sound. So I kind of did everything early and first, and sometimes when you do that, you don't, especially as a woman in the music industry, you don't get the recognition that you should do, because really no one was documenting this stuff. Like when we were doing residencies in Ibiza and Dubai and places like that, it was pre-Instagram. Instagram was like a later thing, you know. And then I became a tour DJ. I started tour DJing for a lot of different artists in the UK, and then I tour DJ'd for Kelly Rowland and obviously Kelis. I've been doing that for a long time, and various different pop stars as well. And I started putting together shows for artists. So I've always played clubs. I used to do pirate radio, which is a thing that's very specific to the UK. And it's the only thing I can equate it to is sort of your mixtape culture in America. Whereas underground, they used to put aerials on the top of like the projects, and you'd go in and you'd find like an old, usually what used to be a crack house or a disused apartment that someone would rent to the illegal radio station. And that's how, like, that was the foundation of how a lot of underground music at the time would get heard. So hip hop, drum and bass, R&B, all the stuff that wouldn't get played on commercial radio, which now is everywhere, and there are big stations that play it, we would play on pirate radio. But the risk was the police would do like antenna searches or something, and they'd come and raid you while you're on radio and take all the equipment, all the records, and put you in a jail cell basically until you got brought out. So it was like the Wild West of DJing in those days. And people now, there's not really such thing. Most of the pirates have gone legit, or they're on DAB, which is like digital radio. Mm-hmm. But even as a woman doing that and going to these places at all hours of the night in London and going to clubs at all, and also I promoted clubs for a long, long time. So, you know, there was hardly any. We had an all-women team of promoters, DJs, door people, everything in the 90s, when this wasn't even a thing. Now people have whole movements like based on like girls and women, and we can do this. We did it in the 90s and didn't really have a clue that we were groundbreaking.
Wow. I think hearing your story, hearing how you started out, this is so amazing. I had no idea, you know, and I know a lot of people listening or watching had no idea that you were doing this for so long.
All my life, and to be honest, in an industry that doesn't really welcome us either, and it hasn't changed that much for women.
And you've been all around the world before social media, so how were people even seeing you? How were people even contacting you to get booked all around the world? How were you even seen back then?
You know what? Let's take it back to even record shopping back in the day in the 90s. As a woman, you'd walk into a record shop in London and a lot of them would just ignore you. They'd leave you at the counter, and they wouldn't save the best records for you. They wouldn't serve you sometimes. They just leave you there because it was like, this is a boys' club and you're not gonna. And I remember the very first guy that was actually nice to me in a record shop, who was called Woody, and he's still DJing now. And he was the first guy that was really, really nice. Was like, oh, I'll save you this record. And because back in the day, it was all about getting on the mailing list, buying the certain records, and we had to import a lot of stuff from the States, especially hip hop and R&B and that kind of stuff, and dancehall. So there was only a limited amount of labels, and then the more underground music here was on white labels. So it was just who you knew and who you bring in. So even that as a woman, and then you'd be out at night on your own and you're carrying record boxes. So the physicality, I used to carry two 30-kilogram boxes of records, which physically bouncers used to struggle with. So even just that and those kind of things that people have no clue now, where you just download something or someone sends you a tune and a lot of people can't even be bothered to listen to it because there's so much out there. It was like even a fight to do that. And then not to mention getting into the clubs, and a lot of the guys didn't want you there. So they'd block you from coming in or make passive aggressive moves of like stopping you going on at your time, and they'd go into your set. All those kind of games. Sometimes they'd throw your stuff outside the DJ booth. Like there'd be fights breaking out. Like if I went with some of my friends, I'd go with, you know, my guy friends because they knew that I'd get shit. So they'd, you know, come and support and what have you. But even those kind of things that they do still happen, but not as frequently. It's not as much of a struggle now. But I think most of my work came off people seeing me firsthand and me running my own club nights with my girls. And then a lot of famous people started coming. So I was playing Got Your Money early. And then I got like a test press of Caught Out There. And Kelis's A&R guy knew that I was spinning it before anyone else. But the club night that I had at the time, we'd already had like Run DMC come and hang out, like Missy Elliott, all these different. But then also like Madonna would come, and then Leonardo DiCaprio would come, and David Schwimmer from Friends would come because they were all hip hop heads. But we'd be in London, so they'd be filming or whatever, and then we'd have like our hip hop stars and our TV people and whatever. So it was like a real mixture, and everyone loved hip hop and R&B and house and the same music. So running clubs really put me on the map when no one else would give me a way in. And so I always say, like, to women, if you can't see it, be it. If it's not a way in, make your own lane and kick down the door, because no one's going to let you in. You know what I mean? So off the back of that really is how I started getting a lot more. So once that was popping and I was popping, then all of a sudden, miraculously, people wanting to book me. You know what it's like? Like, if you do a big gig, still to this day, DJs are only as good as their last gig. So if people see you, like, with a celebrity or doing this party or that party, all of a sudden, other bookings come. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's really, it's just very shallow in a lot of ways. And you have to be hustling. But a lot of my stuff came off recommendations. So I did, like, DJ'd for, like, the Rolling Stones and Vogue and Elle magazine, and I did their fashion awards many times, and I DJ for Porsche. But then Diddy would come to town and he'd be like, I'll get the blonde chick, and I'd do his parties. And so I started doing loads and loads of celebrity parties, but everything from, like, people knew me as a hip-hop DJ, really, but I wasn't just a hip-hop DJ because I'd come from playing house music and hip-hop and drum and bass and all these genres that I'd mixed together. But you know when people just want to put you in that box?
Yeah.
And luckily I started doing all these other things and fashion gigs and directing music for, like, London Fashion Week and runway shows and things like that. And off the back of that, I got to DJ for, like, Ronnie Woods from the Rolling Stones, for instance, had me DJ for him and Rod Stewart for their film launch, and really interesting things. So I think because I'm very open-minded, I would just be like, yeah, I can do that, and I'd make it happen. But the root of it all is that I did my 10,000 hours years ago. So, you know, like my practice, I did all that. But yeah.
Practice. So important to practice. how did you have time to have kids? Like, you were doing so much.
Well, I left it very late.
Still doing all of this with your children?
I left it late, though. That's the thing. And in a way, I wish I hadn't, because I would have had more kids. And the music industry does not love you back. You can put your heart and soul into it, and it's not going to love you back. So there's no perfect time to have them. But I will say, when I did have my kids, and I dedicated a lot of time to them, because I didn't want to just get a nanny or give them someone else to look after. So my wages went down by 4/5.
What do you mean?
So say it went down by 4 times to like 1/5, because I couldn't just be out touring all the time. I couldn't just be out. A lot of that was because I had a difficult childbirth, which wasn't my fault. I had like a situation with the hospital, and they were negligent, and so I couldn't walk for about 6 weeks. But as soon as I woke up the next day, I was like running my club night from my hospital bed. And then as soon as I could walk, I went out and did promo for my single, which was coming out. And it was mental. I was in the club in like C-section pants with like, you know, like, and then breast pumping, leaving the milk at home. But yeah, my wages definitely went down a lot, because it's just impossible to do everything. You cannot have a baby, do that, be pumping breast milk, be looking after business, and then be out hustling, which is the DJ life, is like to be out and be visible. Otherwise you lose work. How do
you feel like you stay motivated to keep going? Because I know like some DJs have asked me, like, you know, they feel like they are kind of like losing interest or losing the passion for DJing. How did that stay within you? How do you still feel that passion and have that passion for the art of DJing?
Do you know what it is? It's negative in some ways, but in another way, it's what's kept me going. Is whenever I've reinvented myself over and over and over. So once I got known as a hip hop DJ and I was put in that box, I was like, I don't want to be known as just a hip hop DJ. I'm going to go and do all these fashion gigs, and I'm going to go and do red carpet events, and I'm going to go and do a rock gig. And then I'm going to go to Ibiza and be a resident there, and I'm going to go to Dubai or whatever. I'm going to fly to this country and see what that's about. And then I started tour DJing, and really I've probably given that the longest out of anything, because I've worked with various different bands and I can dip in and out. And I find it really fun putting artist shows together and then seeing how they translate at festivals and things like that. And I'm really, really good at it. I realized, like, after a while, oh my God, I can really put these artists on a next level via my ideas and what I'm doing here. And I have some like amazing skills at this, and they never have to worry about anything going wrong. I know I'm good at this. So every time I sort of excelled at one thing, I'd go, right, I'm kind of over this now. I want to try and do that instead. So in a way, the people that stay within their box, they can really excel at, like, they're known as that mixtape DJ or that hip hop DJ, or that's what you get with them. With me, I was like, I want to mix in some frigging Bali funk or some Brazilian music or some rock to this set, or add some. And I remember years ago meeting Pharrell with Kelis, and he was like, oh yeah, you should mix some AC/DC into your set. And I was like, I love AC/DC, I'm totally mixing them in. So every time I sort of got comfortable in a situation, I was known for one thing, I'd be like, right, I want to do something else now, which has been to my detriment in some ways, because people don't know which box to put me in. And I think that's maybe why Kelis and I have worked together for so long, because she's like that as an artist, and then people are like, wait, she does this music, but then she does that, and now she's done some soul, and now she's done a rock thing, and they don't really understand.
Let's talk about that, though. Let's talk about that. Like, how did you meet Kelis? How did that connection happen?
Yeah, so I was saying, years ago I had a club night, and her A&R knew that I was pushing her records hard, and I kind of and to be honest, when Neptunes first brought out their first records, people were not positive about their new sound.
Right.
They really weren't. A lot of DJs were like, what is this shit?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't like all up in their grills, like straight play at all. And I Hate You So Much Right Now, like that as an anthem caught out there was like, some people got it and some people really didn't. And I was like, I love this. I love this sound. I love everything about it. Right, this is going to be like our anthem at the club night. And we were just playing it and playing it and playing it. And then her A&R was like, oh, she's coming to town next week to do some like radio interviews or something. I'll bring her down. And then she came to the party, loved the party, met my friend Liz, met me. And we kind of just ended up hanging out then every time she was in London. And then I remember she was always losing her phone. She was always losing her phone. So I'd get random calls from assistants going, hey, this is Carlos, Kelis's assistant. Can you DJ for her tomorrow at such and such? Meet us. Because it was before like real mobile phones and stuff like that. I had a mobile phone, but you know, not everyone was. So I'd get like random messages like every time she lost her phone or there was a different assistant. I remember getting MySpace messages from random people in America going, hey, Kelis is going to be in such and such in London tomorrow. She needs you to do this gig with her. Come and meet her. And I'd go, okay, then. And then that was it. We started kind of working, you know, like I'd just get a message going, do you want to work tomorrow? And I'd be like, okay. And then that turned into like, I've known her for like 23 years now.
Wow.
And I've been tour DJing with her for like over 15. So, yeah, and then this year I put together the Glastonbury show and I did lots of like remixes and stuff like that, but I've always been doing that for her shows because I try and keep everything quite, you know, like if you haven't had a record out, she's had records out though, more or less all the time. It's just people don't realise it's her on the records a lot of the time. Like she had a big record with Disclosure, I think 2020 or 2021. People don't even realise it's her.
Wow.
So there's always new bits to put in the show, and then I try and work out like, okay, how would I remix this to make it more like 2023 or put some Amapiano, like I did Little Star, one of her records as an Amapiano remix this year for Glastonbury. And yeah, I'm always just thinking, and also I never like to see an artist show where it's just play the record from start to finish, a gap, they talk a bit, and not another record from start to finish. That to me is not fun. And also it's not like hip hop, R&B, house, all of that culture there is more focused from the DJ, right? Mm-hmm. So I would think, let's make it more fun. Let's put bits in between. Let's put little edits in there. Let's put a little bit of MOP ante up in there because that's going to make the crowd at a festival go nuts. And then we'll drop into Trick Me. So that's how I think about putting together sets for artists. Because for me, the best people to watch live are people that do the unexpected and keep you on your toes. And they have remixes and stuff. And like Busta and Spliff, for instance, for me, they're the best.
My favorite, absolute favorite.
They're the best. Okay. Their live shows are like so tight and so well put together. And Scratcher Tour as well, they're the DJ.
Yes.
Like the way they do it is genius. So yeah, for me, that's how I've always thought about putting together shows. So some people don't get it. And usually if they don't get it, they don't understand sound systems and hip hop and DJs and how rapping and DJs go together and how all that culture developed together. And Kelis comes from Harlem, so she's totally grown up on that. So I was like, we need to be this, you know, that is you. So that's how I'm going to translate this in the show. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell how we work together. And yeah, it's been great. It's like totally fun most of the time.
that's so amazing. I know that there's some DJs that want to become tour DJs, and do you have some advice that you can give to them to either get into it? Just to get into it.
I mean, unfortunately, a lot of it's who you know. Like, there's certain people I think, oh God, I could make that show 10 times better if you let me get my hands on it. But, you know, a lot of times they'll have their boy or someone they know. Yeah. And that happened with me as well. And also other people seeing me DJ for things, and then their managers or whoever are like, yeah, get Nikki to do your tour DJ. So there's no quick formula. I think a lot of that happens, like, unfortunately, who you know, and a lot of times it's not the right person, or they're just doing the shows like pre-record sometimes. I mean, that happens anyway. I think, who was it? Not Marshmallow. One of the big house EDM DJs was on a live saying, oh yeah, well, every frigging EDM DJ pre-records at this point because they don't want anything to go wrong at festivals, and all the DJs pre-record, and that's something Kelis has never wanted to do, or go to track. So every year there's like, you know, like a band, and we have to put stuff together, and a lot of time there's pressure to put stuff on track, which, like big DJs, they pre-record stuff for their light shows. Track means that you've got a click in your ear, and then, you know, like, it's easier for the band. But Kelis is always like, hell no, we're going to do everything live, and you're going to DJ it all live. And then if we want to switch things up every show, which we did, every single show we did this summer, and every festival was a slightly different version until we got it so fine-tuned that by the time we did Glastonbury, we were like, bang, this is the show. But for DJs to get into it, it is a really refined skill, I think. And if you want to do it well, you can do it and just be up there, like, playing the tracks beginning to end, like I said. And but if you get creative input, that's the sweet spot, because DJs really, that's the thing about DJs, our timing should be better than everyone else's. So we understand you should cut that record at the end of the second verse, at the end of the bridge, going into that one there, because that's going to have the biggest effect on the crowd. So DJs, like, no one else can time stuff like that, because we sometimes stand in front of the festivals and play sets, so we know when to drop a record and when to drop in what order to make everyone hype. So I think that's really important as well. If DJs have to hone their skills, you can't just be a new DJ and be out there tour DJing, because you're not going to have the experience of playing to many different crowds and how to drop things and when. And also, I've been in front of a 50,000 crowd before, and one deck stopped working. So if you're not an experienced person that doesn't freak out in the middle of the show, also it was extremely sunny, so I couldn't see shit. The sun was in my eyes, the deck went out, I couldn't see my laptop very well. I'm on Serato still, so yeah, you could get panicked by any of this stuff at any point. So you've got to be kind of a very steady hands type person.
Do you remember what you did when that happened?
Yeah, I went on one deck and just transferred each time. You know, on Serato, luckily you can do that. Yeah.
But you didn't.
I was shouting at my tour manager. I was shouting like, I can't see anything. The deck's gone out. And then I learned from that, do not play on festival equipment. Take a console with you, or take your own decks. But often, if you're flying into Finland or whatever, it's very difficult to take all that equipment with you. So now I travel with like a small DJ console in my bag at all times, because I'm never sure what they're going to actually have. And a lot of times I'll give the rider out, even for Kelis, as big as she is, and they'll just totally ignore the rider, and it'll be something completely different. So now I'm like, no, I'm bringing a frigging small controller, and I can do a whole show on it if I have to. But for all the summer shows in the UK, we hired in a big boy controller, and that was amazing, because I knew there was going to be because what it is with festivals, especially, and the UK is the centre of festival culture, festivals don't service their DJ gear, because they're just like, oh, whatever, and they just hire it in, and then you don't know where it's been. It's usually been sat in, like, you know, a storage facility or something. So yeah, you never know what you're getting, and a lot of times things will go wrong while you're live on stage. So I learned from that, like, never again.
But always have a backup.
Yeah,
backup laptop, backup everything.
Yeah,
everything. Sure. I know Shavarda's on here, and she's a DJ and she's a producer as well. And I know that you produce. Like, how did you get into that? where did you get your love for wanting to produce from? Like, how did you get into it?
From originally being a musician and being able to play and instruments and stuff. And I just got an electric cello again. So now I've plugged my electric cello into my decks and I'm playing cello over my DJ stuff because I'm going to be doing live shows with my production outfit, Beatnik, with vocalists. And I was like, the vocalists are amazing. I want to do something that pushes me a bit more. So now I'm going to learn my cello again, but play it over like our music and over hip hop and Afro beats and stuff like that. So production is really, and the thing is like, so my brother is the main producer in our duo and he is king geek, but I can play and I can make a beat. So I know how things should sound like, you know, like what's going to be commercially good and what's hot at the time. And he's like king uber geek, brilliant at making and brilliant at EQing and brilliant at all the tech. So between us, we make a good team. But I think because there was no encouragement, again, it was even harder for female producers, and it still is now. We're only 3% of the entire music industry. So DJing is like a lot more accepted, even though you still go, oh, you're a female DJ. And I'm like, it's 2023, guys, catch up. And if you do post on TikTok, oh my gosh, sometimes it's like going back to the 90s, I would say. They're like, you didn't do that live. I can't see that cable plugged in. I'm like, I memorized the frigging routine and did it live without headphones because I don't need them, okay? So, yeah, sometimes like social media as well, it can be it wears you out. But yeah, production-wise is like going even further back because there's not many the same opportunities for women producers at all still to this day, and it's still very man-tastic. In fact, I just did the first ever writer and producer camp for mums in music 2 weeks ago in the UK, the first ever, set up by other women producers, and every songwriter and producer on it was a mum.
Wow.
Which is incredible, but it's the first ever, and it's in 2023.
Wow.
So,
can you talk about Mums That Rave? I know that you please talk about that because I think that's so amazing.
So yeah, in 2019 I founded Mums That Rave, which is what it says, a rave for mums. We do it in the day, we had them at like some bougie members clubs like Soho House and Ministry of Sound's member club and different places in London. And in December, I'm about to do rave number 17. There's been thousands of mums that have come, but also it's a safe space for women, so I always encourage that. And we start off with this kind of talk. We have a panel talk at the beginning, and I have mums that are killing it across all industries because as a mum in music, when I first had my kids, I didn't see much like me.
Yeah.
And also, it's sort of expected when you're pregnant that you're not going to be out DJing. And I know DJs are still getting a lot of crap for that. I think there's a techno DJ at the moment who's pregnant, one of the big techno, because techno's quite actually dominated by women. Weirdly, like it's dominated by them. I don't know how that happened, but good luck to them. But yeah, there's one that's pregnant at the moment. She's been getting loads of crap. Like, why is she out DJing? And I was DJing 2 tours while I was pregnant and running club nights, and I stopped DJing. I think 4 days before was my last gig, and I went, I can't do it. So I had 4 days before I gave birth, and then I stopped. But I purposely took every single picture I could, 7, 8 months pregnant, on stages at festivals, because I was like, there's not been examples of this for me, so I'm going to show other people that you can be the example. And why should you stop DJing and doing your job just because you're pregnant? So Mums That Rave was, after I became a mum, I noticed some clients stopped booking me because I guess it's not seen as cool. Although now I think things are turning around because of things like, you know, the movement that I've got. But yeah, so I have this movement on social media. We've got like 40,000 followers all over the world, and we've had 30 million views on social media. And I've done 16 raves so far. 17 will be the next rave. I have inspirational women from music, from entertainment, from TV presenters, radio presenters, wellness, body positivity models that are mums. I always have something like on mindfulness and mental health, because that's a big thing in the music industry as well. Yeah, and I'm just trying to show that mums come in all kinds of shapes and sizes and careers, and you don't have to stop what you love doing just because you're a mum. Like, if you're in the music business, why should you stop after years and a big old career just because you're a mum? If you don't want to, do you know what I mean? So yeah, again, I didn't see it, so I was like, if you can't see it, be it. And that's where we are now.
Let me tell you, that is what I say all the time. You cannot see it, be it. That is so, it's so true. I have a couple of questions here. I know you have to get ready to go.
No, it's fine.
Oh, no, because we're like, it's the time change.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
DJ Introvert, she said, how do you become known in a new city? I think my answer to that is network, connect with people, connect with other DJs, and just network. Find a chamber of commerce, or, you know, just really get out there and talk to people and let everyone know what you do. Tell everybody what you do.
That's what's going to be valuable about this, though, what you're doing, because women, I've sort of realised late, but through doing Mums at Rave, because there wasn't many of us in the beginning, they always used to pit us against each other. So it was sort of like crabs in a barrel and only one woman on each lineup if you're lucky. But things like this, we can actually forge relationships and help each other out through these kind of things. So we could be like, you know, yeah, you need to do this in London, or you need to do this here, or meet my friend. There's quite a few of us that are like that already, but I think it needs to be done on a much bigger scale. So yeah, this is such a valuable thing that you're doing with your, and the name is perfect.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's what it's for. Like, I feel like it's crazy if I think back about it. I feel like the men were pitting us against each other, you know? So, yeah, we have to make sure that we connect and collaborate with each other rather than compete with each other.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's very powerful.
I think in America, though, you in general have a much bigger market. Mm-hmm. Like here, our whole island's only about 900 miles long. Wow. It could fit into your state, one of your states, like many times probably. And so I think that's why I always got more love from Americans and from America in general, because it's just a bigger market. And playing you guys' music over here and then artists coming over and seeing that, even though I used to take British music and play that in LA or New York or Dubai and do the reverse, because then I had the opportunity to take our music there and mix it up. But yeah, your market's a lot bigger in the States. So I guess having a network between cities is going to be really valuable for you guys.
Very, very valuable. It really is. I got another question, and this one was from DJ Introvert. I'm so sorry. How do you balance DJing and having kids? It's definitely a balance.
Well, you always feel like you're doing something wrong, and there's always mum guilt. And then when I go on tour, I have to, so this is my situation. My husband is away filming. He's in one of the big soap operas in the UK. So he's an actor. Wow. And he's away filming usually 6 days a week, every week. So it's me at home doing all the school runs and all that. And then if I have a night where I have to go and DJ, I call Granny, who's like an hour and a half away, and she comes and babysits. So I can't get out and network as much, like at events, or go to all the things I used to. And that's just a fact.
Right.
So I do lose out on work from that kind of thing. But then I kind of try and do stuff online, and you know, I've been tour DJing, so fortunately that comes up in the summer. And then the summer's a real problem, because then I have to coordinate all the school runs, all the swimming, karate, drama, all the clubs. it is not easy at all. Luckily, my husband was off a bit more in this summer. But yeah, whatever you do as a mum, if you've got a job that's your passion, or you're running companies, you're always going to feel like you're not fulfilling one thing. So if you miss something like a summer performance at school because you're on a tour bus, you're going to feel terrible. And if you miss a gig because you can't do it, or, you know, you see other DJs that doing the gigs that you used to do or whatever, you're always going to feel like, damn it, I'm missing out. But you're bringing up your kids. So it's kind of the most important thing, isn't it? So yeah, it's really hard to balance stuff. I don't think there is such a thing as balance, to be honest.
It's very difficult. I remember doing one of my events, the Ultimate DJ Showcase, and my son had a basketball game the same night. So I'm running to his basketball game, making sure I'm there to support him. And that's where I really wanted to be, you know, but I already had this event going on. So I had to leave there and rush there and organize and make sure everything was good there. So it's a hustle. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
You just make it happen. And as mothers, we typically do that.
Yeah.
We do that. We do all of the things effortlessly.
Yeah. Multitasking is the main thing, I think.
Yeah. And support from family and friends, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to ask you. So when I do the She's a DJ podcast, I always ask the DJs this question. We're always playing music for everyone else, but what is your song that you would want someone to play for you? Whether it's you coming out into your glamorous birthday party, some type of celebration or whatever, or you're going to speak on a stage. What is that song that you want the DJ to play for you?
Oh my goodness. It would change every minute of every day, because you know what, if you got in my car, my husband is sometimes like, what the hell? Because my catalogue of thousands of, probably like 40,000 tunes that I've got on my hard drive at the moment is everything you can think of, from trap to folk music to 70s rock to freaking 80s rock to Axl Rose to house music to like Crystal Waters to you name it. I have got, and it is so random that sometimes my husband's like, okay, you won. Yeah, you won. Got the most random music of all time. Yeah, and every time I get in the car, like the other day I was listening to all 80s soul. So it was like Ashford and Simpson, Colonel Abrahams, like all these 80s soul jams, and like Change of Heart and all these old tunes that I love, like Secret Rendezvous, I love that record. All these old jams, but I listen to them because it gives me idea for producing. So I'm like, oh, that lick they did, or that, because the way they used to sing in those songs is different to how people sing now, right?
So different.
So you can hear certain licks and ad-libs they did, or chords, or like the structure of the bass line in those records is unmatched. It's kind of like all the Nile Rodgers era, and then the 80s after that, and like Luther Vandross and Alexander O'Neill and all those guys. So I'll listen to that and I'll be like, oh yeah, I've just got an idea for a bass line. And then the next minute I'll listen to like brand new Afrobeat, or like some grime or some drill. And then the next minute it'll be all house, like Defected Records or something like that, or Masters at Work, or like it'll be
so you can't decide.
Yeah, it will be like Latino joints, like reggaeton, dancehall, and then the next minute I could listen to some like random Spanish flamenco music. That is, so I could never say, oh, that's my tune, like bring me on to that, because every minute of the day I'm like slightly schizophrenic when it comes to music. I get into my car and get out again, then get back in and go, oh, I don't want to listen to this anymore, and then put on something completely different. So I think as DJs, it's quite hard to pick what your ultimate tune is.
But like that song that makes you be like, yes, this is it. This is what I want to come. It's like picking a wedding song. Like that's so hard, but you have to do it, right?
That's what's happening. I've been engaged for like 8 years, so
Oh.
I don't think the wedding's actually going to happen, so I don't have to pick the record.
That
song if I'm in a club, my friends will tell you the one thing that makes me dance more than anything else is probably 90s dancehall mixed with a bit of Mobb Deep. Do you know what I mean? Like Quiet Storm comes on, you got like some 90s hip hop maybe, but 90s dancehall is my jam. And then I love my ultimate kind of like disco house tunes are probably Colonel Abraham's Trap, because I think that's the perfectly written tune that led to many other records. And Inner City I love as well from that era, but I love so much new music as well, so it's really hard. Like at the moment, Tyler Water, that is my jam. So yeah, who knows? Like I cannot narrow it down. Listen. And if I looked at my laptop, I'd be like, oh yeah, I want that one, I want that one. But it would go on forever.
So it'd be a mix.
Yeah,
that's what it's
mix. Probably a DJ mix by me.
Of course, right?
But usually, actually, what I'm most interested in is like listening to new beats and making new beats, and then whatever I've written most recently. And being on that writers camp, like tomorrow we've got a listening session for all the women in music that were on the writers camp, and I didn't have to produce anything, so I just did 3 days solid of writing songs, and it was so freeing for me. No DJ sets, no responsibility of having to produce it. I just sat and wrote for 3 days, and it was the most fun. I was like, oh, I think I could do this full time as a job every single day.
Whoa.
Yeah, so maybe that's my next thing is like, yeah, writing for me is the most fun at the moment.
I love that. You're so talented. I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation, and I love you. You're so, and that you really stole my heart when you said Mobb Deep. Come on, I love Mobb Deep. All the stuff that you named.
Who doesn't love Mobb Deep? If you don't love Mobb Deep, we can't be friends, I think.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you have any, I think I'm still going to have to bring you inside the membership and talk to the ladies as well, because I know that they have so many questions that they would love to ask you, but we can do that later on.
Sure.
But do you have any encouraging words or any tips for the ladies that are coming out here and making things happen as DJs, or anything that can help them on their DJ journey?
I think, and this might sound mental, but don't watch too many other DJs. Watch them in clubs and how they put their sets together. If they're like, you know, someone to watch in that, whatever the kind of music you're into, go and watch them live, but don't get too caught up in all the online hype and DJing and like who's doing what and trying to, you know, like worrying, like, well, they're doing that now, I need to do that now. Figure out what makes you tick and what makes you happy, and then be consistent at it. I'm really bad at being consistent on social media. Like TikTok, when I first started that, I was uploading videos and stuff and I was getting a lot of views, and then they started like banning the sound off, and the same on Instagram. Like you get shadow bans and stuff, and it would just annoy me so much and irritate me, and I'm like, listen, I'm an OG, I can't be bothered with this crap. But you do have to be really consistent, and I think social media isn't that friendly to DJs unless you're like with a label and you've got a massive following, or you start getting a big following. Like they don't really help us that much. They shadow ban us. I've had those bans on the music, you know, where it says you've used someone else's music and it's my music and my song that I wrote, and they're like, we're going to review this, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So it's an uphill battle sometimes with social media and all the different channels like YouTube. We did a YouTube channel, which we've had up for years now, And we were trying to help other new DJs. So we did like a whole encyclopedia of all the DJ terms that you need and all the producer terms and breaking it down, mono, stereo, EQ. What does this mean? What does that? And the sole reason for that was to help people when we didn't get helped as younger DJs and producers. So me and my brother were like, this is what our channel is going to be. It's going to have our music on there, our record label. But even updating these things all the time, it's like you have to be a full-time video editor and lighting person, a presenter. And so sometimes that can feel really overwhelming. So when you're overwhelmed by it all, go back to just getting on your decks and practicing your craft, because that will let you know, like, if you still love doing that and you still love if scratching's your thing, or if beat juggling's your thing, or if mixing's your thing, or whatever it is, just go back to that and do that. And then that gives you a kind of reset. So when I'm saying don't watch too many DJs, I just think it can be toxic sometimes, because you're like, well, they're doing that and they've got this many followers, and you know what I mean? Maybe like it's better to approach some clubs or approach some like event agencies or people that might actually have real-time work for you, or start your own party. That is hands down the best way to like get something popping still. So yeah, I'd say like go and watch other DJs live if you're starting out and see what they're doing. Make sure they are live and it's not
exactly,
because even some of the, you know, the live DJ sets where they've got all the people in the background doing all the like hype sets that all the snippets come up, a lot of times they're just playing an edit of someone else's remix. There's no actual DJing going on there. A lot of it's pre-recorded. So go watch the people that you respect live, see what they're doing, but don't get too caught up in trying to compete in other people's lanes all the time, because it can be really confusing and it can throw you off. And everyone's guilty of it. If I see someone doing something that, you know, a gig that I did or whatever, and they're the new person on the block, and I'm like, well, I did that. I did it first. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you can feel away, or you can start worrying about that stuff. Don't let any of that get in your head. Just take it back to what you actually love doing, which is either, you know, like being a musician and a DJ.
That is great, great, great advice. Thank you. And everybody, just be you. Be you.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do.
Don't feel like you have to wear a certain thing or look a certain way. There are people that are really slick at that, and they brand people as producers, as DJs. They specifically go out and brand them in a certain way and then start making music in a certain way. But it might not be like the music they're passionate about, but they've got like, this is what I want to do. I want to be big and play in festivals. Like I remember when Calvin Harris did that, he stopped being in a band, because he was in a band and he was like the front man. He was writing songs and everything. And then he was like, I'm not going to do that anymore. I don't want to tour as a band. I just want to be a big DJ playing stadiums. And so they rebranded him, and he was like, that's the music I'm going to do. I'm going to look a certain way. I'm going to do this. And I see it a lot with women DJs where they're like, right, we have to look a certain way. We're going to wear like the cycling shorts, the crop top. We're going to do this. We're going to play these tunes. And it is a formula that works. But I feel like that could be very sad for a lot of girls coming up, because they feel like they have to adhere to a certain look,
right,
and a certain thing. And it's not really about the music. So, yeah, just try not to get too affected by all that. And it's not all about the way you look. It is ultimately about your passion and your talent. So as long as you follow through on that, I think it's fine. But obviously DJing's changing all the time as well. Yeah, representation is everything. You also, it's important to see other people doing it that look like you, or, you know, other women doing it as well. So that's really important. But I think that women are under way more pressure, because a guy can look any old way as a DJ. No one cares.
Anyway, they can look any old way
and be 105 wearing a t-shirt and jeans. No one cares. Whereas women get picked apart, and then they sort of get accused of oh, well, she's not really doing that. So they've always got, you know, there's always extra layers to it when you're a girl, when you're DJing. Also, if you're a young girl, you're going to get guys trying to ting with you to give you work or whatever, or, oh, come to the studio, and it's some brock down studio at 2 a.m. in the morning. Don't go.
Do not go.
I mean, like, do not go. If you, all these kind of weird offers and things, the lines are very merged in the music industry. And I'm sure, like, you've probably come up against it as well, but there's a lot of things. There's a lot of mansplaining. They'll talk down to you. You'll be on tour. People might try something. Like, I remember one of my friends was on tour with a rapper, and she had to get the hell out of there because it was getting, like, very intimidating. Like, he wanted to do things, and she did not want to do it. And then I remember getting a call, and I was like, okay, it's fine. We're going to get you out of this situation. But all these things are things that women have to deal with that guys don't really have to deal with. This
is the whole reason, a part of the reason why I created Female DJ Association too. You know, we need to connect with each other. We need to learn from each other. And I also put on some DJ safety tips in there too, because sometimes we don't think about these things. Like when I started, I wasn't thinking about those things, but it's so important. Sometimes we need to bring some mace or something with us. Sometimes we need to make sure our location is on for our family members and stuff like that. We need to, especially if we're doing clubs and late night events and things like that, and we don't have anyone with us, we need to make sure that we're safe. So,
sure. And also, like, back in the day, the security rule was my best friend, but now you go to clubs and security are paid like minimum wage in London.
They don't care.
None of them care if you get felt up by a punter or if some DJ like pushes you around in the booth or whatever. No one cares.
Yeah.
So I think like things have got better and worse in some ways. But yeah, you always have to like make sure you know how you're going to get in and out, where you park your car, is it close to the venue? All of these things that guys don't necessarily have to think about. Probably some of them do. But yeah, there's a lot more layers to it as a woman. And then finding, you know, like agents or representation. Are you representing yourself? Are you going to be able to do your own contracts? Do you understand the legal side of it? Getting paid, get paid up front as much as you can. That's my top tip. Get paid before your gigs. Put it in an email, put it in a contract. I can help you guys with simple contracts if you need them.
All of that stuff is inside of the membership. All of that stuff is inside of the membership. So yeah, it's very, all that stuff is so important, especially the money.
Yeah, for sure.
We have to make sure that we're getting paid. Before we take all of our equipment out of our cars or whatever, before we get started, we need to get paid.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's right. Like club DJs don't get the pay now. Yeah. I feel like pay was better on a par in the 90s to what it is now in like those kind of bougie clubs. In London, there's quite an underground scene, like Printworks used to be one of them. They've just opened a massive new, I think it's 15,000 people venue in an old IKEA, but that's obviously electronic music mostly. So that's like, you know, a whole different ball game with agents and big management and stuff like that. But I do feel like, yeah, a lot of times DJs aren't getting paid well, and clubs especially will long out the payments for DJs. So I started doing a lot of like, I was privileged enough to be hired to do like, you know, big brand things, and I just set my fee high, and if you can't pay it, I just don't even get involved. But I'm lucky enough I can do that with some things, so sometimes I might not do a gig for a couple of weeks, and then if I want to take like something really interesting and artsy, or for a new group or band or club or something small, but still I'm like, the money has to be in my account before I come.
Exactly.
But I understand with clubs, sometimes like I was running a club night and it came under new management at the hotel. It was a big bougie hotel in London, worldwide brand. And the new manager decided he didn't really want us there, didn't really like hip-hop being played, didn't really like dancehall, Afrobeat. So he was like, let's squeeze them out. And they didn't pay me for 12 weeks. And I was pregnant at the time. And I remember I paid everyone else out of my own money for 12 weeks. Luckily, I was in a position where I could do that. And then it was getting to the stage where I was going to have to expose them on socials or take it legal to get the money. And they did pay me in the end, but they also got rid of my night, which was a very fully established 3-year-old, probably one of the most successful club nights in London. And the last straw was when I think Dave Chappelle came to the door with Nicole Scherzinger and that actor guy, I forget his name. He's got blonde hair and blue eyes. I've forgotten his name. Bradley Cooper.
Oh.
And they turned them away out of haterade for us and like the payment issues and all that. And I just knew this is going to be a wrap. But like when you've built something from like the ground up and you've got such a successful club night and then one person's like, we don't like the look of these people, or they're like trying to mess with you, that is like soul destroying sometimes. But this is how clubs are.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that is very destroying.
Yeah. But yeah, try and get your money up front if you can. That's all I'm saying.
I'm trying to look at these questions. I know someone asked you a question before we go. I know someone asked you a question about an edit or something, a mix that you did or something.
Oh, really?
If I can go back.
Yeah, get at least half. That's someone saying get at least half of it.
Yes, half. But before you start the event,
before you leave your house.
The remaining balance, yes. How did you come up with that gravel pit milkshake mix for Kelis? Was fire at Glass.
Oh, I did that mix years ago, but no one really got it till it was on Glastonbury. Story of my life. Like, I do things early, and people are like, you don't really get it. And now, 5 years later or whatever. So we used to do holiday milkshake. You know, Madonna Holiday mixed with milkshake. And that went down really well for years in clubs and festivals and stuff, because we're doing a lot of European festivals. And so that kind of 80s mashup, that killed it. And last year we opened for Duran Duran. I was like, let's put the holiday milkshake back because it's going to be an older demographic and they'll love it. And they absolutely loved it. But then a few years, but like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, no, I need a refresh on this. And the way I do it is I look through BPMs, what's going to be a similar kind of feel. What era do I want it to feel like? What's the mood of the show? Like if Kelis says I want it to be, this year I want the tour to be Diana Ross meets Bjork meets Chanel. And that's what she'll tell me. And it'll be a fashion influence. And like I did a degree in fashion and fine art. So I've got that like artist side as well. But yeah, she'll often talk to me in fashion references. And I get a lot of that with people I've worked with because I worked a lot in fashion. So they'll be like, this is my vision and whatever. And I'll just be like, okay, so we want it like, and I think at the time it was like, I really wanted to have that hip hop edge in there and a bit of 90s, but make it cool. So Wu-Tang was like quite an obvious choice. And then literally the way my mind works with DJ stuff, it will come to me a flash in my head and the mix will be playing in my head. And then I'll go home and go, okay, let me get those 2 tunes. And then I make it. Yeah. So it's not even like a lot of the time I'm not even at my DJ turntables or anything. Like I did one recently with Kylie Minogue, Padam, with Dr. Dre, Forgot About Dre. And I was driving on the school run and I was like, that would be a sick mix. And I came home and I jumped on my decks and I just did it. And I was like, oh, this sounds good. I love this one. So that's how it was with Wu-Tang and Gravel Pit and Milkshake, the same way. I was like, wait a minute, I think Gravel Pit's going to be amazing with that. And then I just made it. So yeah, and it's been in the show. And the thing is, it's so good that it's lasted the longest out of all of those things that I've made. Like I've made so many versions of different tunes of hers with different edits and mashups, but that one's really like it works so well with crowds that I don't want to take it out.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it now. Someone said that you need to put all the mixes on SoundCloud.
Yeah, I know. And there was talk about someone wanting to release a mixtape of all the different tunes that I'd done, but via Kelis. So it's like going to be a Kelis mixtape, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But basically it would be all the remixes that I've done for her shows, but like be a Kelis mixtape. So
that would be dope.
We'll see. If I get credit, it'll be dope.
Of course, right?
As a DJ, yeah.
You gotta make sure you get credit. Listen, thank you so much. Like, I can talk to you like all night.
Oh,
like,
bless you.
Seriously.
Thanks. I hope people got something from the chat.
Oh my gosh, you're so amazing, and I know that we're gonna stay connected. And thank you for all that you do. Thank you for everything that you brought into the art of DJing, and for the women, for the ladies out here. Like, we thank you for everything that you've done. So, any last words or anything?
Well, I'd like to thank you because it's not often that I kind of get recognized. And funnily enough, it's usually 9 times out of 10 always American people that have me on these interviews and that recognize and are like, oh yeah, what you're doing is dope. I don't know why. It's just always been Americans that have gone, you're dope. Come and DJ with us, or come and do this with us. And that has helped my career so much. So I'm so grateful for it. And I'm so grateful for being recognized by other women. It's the best.
You deserve it. You deserve it. So it's my pleasure. And I'll continue to recognize you along with other women out here that are, I don't know what happened. I hope it didn't go blank. But we will definitely connect soon. Thank you so much. How can everyone follow you?
I'm on everything. If you put DJ NIKKI in, I'll usually pop up. And all my branding for my label, for my production, everything is yellow. But I'm on all the Spotify's, Apple Music, all of that. But that's our production duo. So all the tunes on there I've either written myself with featured artists, and produced with my brother. And that's, if you search on all the music stuff, it's Beatnik featuring. But then all my mixes and everything else is DJ NIKKI BEATNIK. So I'm on everything, Mixcloud, you name it. But yeah, the main thing I'd love people to do, because that's my passion now, writing songs and producing, is add us to playlists on your Spotify and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Beatnik featuring, if you type that in anywhere, all the tunes will come. And we've made tunes with like really interesting artists, and there's some wicked stuff up there. So I'd love you to listen to it.
Is that one of them, the Vogue one?
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you
so much. I love it so much.
Thanks.
That is so dope. I have to listen to the other ones, but that one I was like,
yeah, it's a jam. It's a jam. So I'm about to start working on a new EP as well. So yeah, that's my thing.
Thank you, everyone.
I appreciate people that tuned in. I appreciate anyone that follows me. Like, the people that follow me really follow me, and they watch my stories every day, and I know most of my followers. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And you have a wonderful night, because what time is it there?
It's about to be 8:20 at night now. Okay. So I gotta go and pick up my kid from trick-or-treating.
Right.
Out there dressed as Darth Vader somewhere, terrorizing people.
As he should.
Right? I want to be dressed as Darth Vader.
Go ahead, do it. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you very, very, very soon.
Yeah, thanks so much. And thanks for all your hard work with this, because you're onto a winner. And I think it needs someone like you to bring us all together.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm working on it. I'm working hard.
Good for you.
I'm working hard.
No, it's great.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night. Bye, everyone.
See you later. Bye.
Thank y'all for tuning in.